Hello, Bob. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine, Mac.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Well, a lot of things have been happening here. I noticed last night that that the big riot of Detroit, 1967, was on the NBC, I believe. Did you happen to get a chance to watch that?
Yeah, I did. I did see that. I think it was ABC Channel 7, WXYZ in Detroit.
Okay, ABC, right? Okay.
Right. Yeah, I did see that, and I thought that was I think they did a good job on it. But Mac, I don't understand why they're doing that. I mean, there are more important things going on in the world today with regards to black people. I did see one guy in the town hall that they had after they showed that, and he stood up and said that the conditions 50 years later for blacks in Detroit are the same as they were back then, and he's concerned that we could have another circumstance like that. And if you couple his statement, this gentleman that was being interviewed last night at the town hall they had afterwards, with the statement made by Dr. Claude Anderson, where he said several years ago that the black man would be obsolete in America. All these things come to pass, but I don't understand why they're making such a big brouhaha of something that happened 50 years ago, when you have right now, as you and I are speaking, 9.5 million Africans in the areas of Somalia and Djibouti and Kenya and Sudan. 9.5 million, and think about that number. That's about 25% of the population of African Americans in the United States. So you have that many people whose lives are in jeopardy right now at this moment, and you don't hear anybody making a documentary or even talking about it on the news media about those people's lives. They're African. They're our cousins. We're African Americans, at least that's what I'm told. And yet here we are so concerned about something that happened 50 years ago in Detroit that I just don't understand the emphasis being placed on that. But yes, that's a long-winded diatribe to your question, Mac. But
Well, I
did see that yesterday.
Well, that's well, some people call it a riot, but I heard one gentleman on there talk about it as being a rebellion. How do you look at that, Bob? As a riot is when people, like, you remember in 1984 when the Detroit Lions, the Tigers won the World Series.
Right.
Now, they had a riot then because there was white people out there turning over cars and everything else and burning cars and whatever else they could burn. You recall that, right?
Right, I do.
So the rebellion thing was that you had it sort of reminded me like a revolution, when you're dissatisfied with something and when somebody got their feet on your neck for so long, you're gonna either push up or you're going to lay down and die, right?
Right. You're trying to overturn that situation that had you in its grips.
Exactly. So I think it was I really didn't see the whole show. I only saw the part that where they had to interview the people afterwards. But I'm gonna tell you something, Bob. All of that stuff is coming out now, I believe, because somebody, and I don't want to say who that body is, they are trying to create something now. There's an agenda to get rid of the black people, as Dr. Claude Anderson say. He said this many years ago. If we didn't do something, that they were going to bury us, right?
Right.
Well, I think that. You notice something else that came out this past weekend was the War of the Planet of the Apes. And if you had gotten a chance to take a look at that, they had a poster on that. I went to see that movie because I wanted to see what subliminal messages that they were putting out there, Bob.
Yes.
And I tell you, they have so many there, you'll be surprised. They have the dark-skinned ape, the light-skinned ape, and the brown-skinned ape. And so that kind of tells you something right there. And on the poster, that was said, it has something like one guy had on the back of his helmet. It said, "The only good ape is a dead ape." I'm sure you heard something like that before, haven't you, Bob?
Oh, when I was a kid, they used to. I heard it said that the only good nigger is a dead nigger. But I don't think that Hollywood would put that kind of vicious stuff out, because they don't ever say nigger. They use the term the N word, so they probably would not have been so caustic in their remarks.
But
I don't want to take away from your point.
Well, the point is, what I'm saying is that this was what was on the back of the helmet of one of the soldiers there. The only good ape is a dead ape.
Yes.
So now you can interpret that however you want to. Now,
but let me ask you this. So you said that they had the apes pretty much like they have black African Americans in this country. There's some of us are high, they call us high yellow, red bones, blacks and browns. Because I could remember too, like when they said only good nigger's a dead nigger. It used to be, if you're white, you're all right. If you're brown, you can stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. But if you're black, get back. So they have put out a movie that caricatures that saying, I guess, is what I hear you saying, unless I misinterpret what you said.
Well, of course, that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, the ape that was in charge, I believe his name is Caesar. He's the light-skinned ape. And then they have the other apes that who works with the soldiers,
Right.
Now they are called donkeys. and the donkeys are the one that carries the ammunition and certain other things for them when they go into battle. And
wow.
they are also the ones who, when they capture the apes, the donkeys are the ones who whip them.
Oh my gosh! Well, Mac, I don't know if I want to see that movie. I mean, my God!
And do you know the guy? I believe the multi-billionaire Soros. I believe.
Yeah, George Soros. Yes, I know. The Hungarian Jew.
Yeah, I believe.
The Hungarian Jew that killed a lot of his own Jewish people.
Well, he is the one that I'm told that funded the Black Lives Matter, and they created the Black Lives Matter for a purpose, And the particular guy on there who's the head of Black Lives Matter, I don't know whether you ever noticed this. Whenever he goes on these talk shows or anywhere, he's always wearing a kind of a light blue vest. Have you ever noticed that?
No, I've never seen him. I don't know the person.
Oh, okay. Well, they had one ape that was in the movie. He wore a light blue vest. I guess you think he represented the Black Lives Matter, but I understand.
Wow.
I understand that this particular person. I don't know his name either, but I think he got
now,
up.
Was this movie like was this like a comedy like Saturday Night Live?
No, it wasn't a comedy.
Oh, so it's a serious movie about how the apes take over the planet or something.
Well, they didn't take over the planet. It goes back a long ways, Bob. I'm not going to get into it. It has many. See, the Planet of the Apes, the first movie they made was back in the 60s.
Okay. I haven't seen any of them. So
Well, they've been making
nostalgic.
they've been making a series of them over the years, over the decades, really. So
Oh,
so
but it goes back to the 60s?
oh yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, it just occurs to me, and I've been wrong before, but perhaps that correlates with the civil rights movement and how blacks began to assert themselves and get their freedom.
That's exactly right, Bob. Because you wanted to know about that movie, the Detroit Riot thing. Why they are celebrating that? It's 50 years,
Right.
1967. So it's
Right.
been 50 years. They've been planning this here for 50 years, Bob.
Wow. Yeah,
The
so
thing,
we
did you
have
notice?
become,
Yeah, but did you notice also that during the time that Barack Obama was president, that they came out with a lot of slave movies?
yes, that's right. That's right.
A lot of slave movies to remind you that even though you might be the president or you might have someone as the president of your color, you still a slave.
Hey, listen, you know what you just, Mac, you keep saying these things that it reminds me of things that I heard when I was a kid. They used to say, you are a nigger until you get bigger, and when you get bigger, you'll just be my bigger nigger. Now, that correlates with what you just said, man. That's wild.
And right. And so what are they doing right now, Bob, now that the president is out? Now you got President Trump in there, right?
Right.
And everybody is all riled up because the blacks don't like Trump but all the skinheads love him, right?
Right.
So what is that? That's two opposing sides there, Bob.
Right.
And they got the guy on the Planet of the Apes. He's on there shaving his head, Bob, with a razor. Shaving it as he's talking to the apes out there
Right.
and his soldiers. He represents the skinheads, Bob.
Right.
So
well,
now
I don't know what to say, Mac.
I think that what they're doing, Bob, in my opinion, I mean, I'm making a little humor out of it, but the seriousness of it should not go unnoticed,
Absolutely right, and I that's why I said at the very outset, it doesn't make sense to me all of these things that they're putting out here for the consumption of the masses inside of our country, when we African Americans, 40 million of us inside this country, and our brothers on the homeland, the continent of Africa, are literally dying. I mean, I wonder what if we knew today that there were 9.5 million African Americans inside of America that were going to die over the next several months because of famine, a drought that may have been induced by the dark state. If we knew that, what would be our reaction then? Would we be marching down Woodward Avenue saying Black Lives Matter? Because the people that are going to be dying from this famine are not just, and it's not like, this is not something you and I are postulating. Oxfam and all of these groups, the USAID, all of these groups are talking about this, but you don't see it on the news. What you see on the news is the riots of '67. What does that got to do with anything? Those 40 or 50 people, or whatever number of people that died back then, they're dead. You can't bring them back. But you got 9.5 million people that are potentially dying every day right now. What are we saying about that? Why isn't ABC and CBS and NBC putting that before the African American in America?
Well, Bob, first of all, what they want to keep blacks preoccupied with is equality.
Right.
Equality, whatever that may mean to some people. I don't know. But that's what the equality with, I mean, because right now you can pretty much do what you want in this country as far as going to school, getting an education, getting a skill set, or whatever you need to do. You can just about live anywhere you want to. You may still encounter some ruffles while you're trying to do that, but still the law is there and you can do it. So,
that's absolutely right, because you are an American.
That's right. So, but the point is, this goes back to Claude Anderson as well, and others who have tried to promote the economic uplifting of blacks. Why is it that every time something happens out here, you got to go out there and march? I mean, instead of trying to get together now and build your communities up with businesses so you can become self-sufficient and to create jobs for your own people.
Right.
Why is it that you got to worry about whether or not this police officer has shot someone, or you're going to go out there and start marching? Because if that person had been in his own community and working on a job or doing what he should have been doing, those things would not have happened. And if you got the money in your community, you're going to make sure that you got the right policeman working in there that's going to understand your people, right?
Exactly. And to that point, and take a look at this. There was this Caucasian lady that was shot by this black officer here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I guess they've been having several killings over there of black men over the last several years. Black Lives Matter got all involved in that. But here you had a cop shoot a white woman who was reporting a crime behind her house because that's what she had been instructed by her fiance to do, to call 911. And the cop comes there and shoots her, and you don't see anybody out there marching on her behalf.
Wow.
I mean, why is it that a white person can be violated by these cops, and her life is apparently worth nothing? And I'm not trying to justify either way. I think the cop was wrong in both instances when they kill these people innocently like that. But to that point, so it's all a matter of keeping them distracted from the real issue. And the real issue is that just like, with this whole question of health care and all that nonsense, they've been talking about doing health care for the American people since Harry Truman was president, Matt.
Oh, yeah. Right. And then again, Bob, I mean, you're talking about celebrating 50 years of a riot or rebellion or whatever you want to call it. I mean, during that time period, 50 years, that's many years. That's many people lifetimes. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You truly and surely you could have accomplished something in your own community.
Right.
But
right.
you
don't have to be complaining about it today when you knew about it 50 years ago.
Right. So they're complaining about the same thing they was complaining about 50 years ago. That's why this guy said nothing has changed. Why?
That's right. Right.
Why has you had a black mayor, you had a black council, you had
black police chief, black school board, black in Detroit, a black president, black congressmen, black senators, black judges, black, and we're still complaining because it goes to the point of what you said earlier. We do not have an economy and a community where we could recycle our money in the community, hire our own people, put them to work, so that we don't have to go out here and look for a job where even in 2017, we're still the last hired and the first fired.
That's right. And you and if you notice out here, Bob, that the ones who are promoted, when I say promoted, are put out there and as the public face, they have seemed to be, to me, not the best of the race, in my opinion.
Yes.
And they have the most money, and they don't seem to know about or care about anything but themselves.
Right.
And that money would not go anywhere with them. As I can remember, Denzel Washington said, "Well, you don't see an armored car in a funeral procession, do you?" Now they could be doing a lot with that money and making money. They could become the first billionaires.
That's right.
But I think, Bob, that somebody has gotten there, pulled their coat and told them, don't do anything for the blacks.
Right.
That's got to be what it is, Bob.
Right.
I mean, here you had in Chicago right there, great opportunity. You got all kinds of people come from there. You had the first black president come from there. If you
right.
a multiracial president come from there, whatever you want to call him.
Right, right.
You got the first black female billionaire, and the first black billionaire in America to come from there.
That's right.
But have they done any? They could be multi-billionaires if they invested in their communities with businesses.
Right.
Right.
I see your point.
But I don't think the powers that be wants them to be the multi-billionaires.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that they want a flock of sheep that has no shepherd, and you've got a lot of people in these pulpits pretending to be shepherds, but what their ultimate responsibility is to keep the sheep scattered. Because and every time you get a shepherd who is trying to feed the sheep, that shepherd is killed. And we don't see it. We don't see that. I mean, we I don't know what it is. It's like we've got scales on our eyes back.
I don't understand it is. And do you know? And you talked about this earlier, though, Bob, how about propaganda and things that's happening to the people in these United States, whether they're white, black, blue, green, or what, or yellow,
right,
brown.
Sure.
There is something going on like that, and in particular, you can see it I'm so vividly in the black race as if though we were the guinea pigs for what they're trying to do.
Right. Yes.
I spoke to someone the other day and I told him, I said, have you noticed that how many black males and females are becoming diabetics? I said, when you grew up, you didn't hear anything. People became diabetics when they were like in their 60s, 70s, whatever.
Right.
But I said, but now people are becoming sick with heart problems and diabetes at the age of 30s and in some cases 20s and 40s. I mean, something is happening. And there are so many obese people out there walking on the streets, and they seem to enjoy it, being overweight like that.
Yes.
And then they get sick, and that's all they can think, oh, I got to eat because I'm a diabetic.
Right.
And I mean, it's something that they take pride in.
Right.
Now, to me, Bob, I'm going to tell you, this is part of that entrainment that we talked about once before. that brainwashing. And then on top of that, they control that food that they are eating out there, Bob. And that's another subject. I know that. But that food is what is killing black people.
Yes.
And not only that, but look what they are doing there with that rap and stuff. Look what it's doing and causing blacks to kill each other throughout this country.
Yes.
You know, it's at an epidemic proportion, but none of your so-called shepherds are out there trying to fight this mess. I don't want to say none of them, but not enough of them out there. They don't seem to be able to come together to resolve this issue. I don't think we have any leadership anymore, Bob.
Right. I agree with that. We do have some who pretend to be leaders, but I believe their primary motive is the fattening of their own checkbook.
Exactly. Well, only thing I can say here then, Bob, is that until, now I think we said this once before, until blacks come together and start to trying to build their own communities, they're going to be like the lost sheeps in the valley.
That's right. That's right.
Because there's no one going to be there to, they're going to be scattered all over this country. And no one's going to be there. And one of the other things too, when you were talking about the what is happening over in Somalia and Ethiopia and Sudan, what's happening over there, and we talked about this on our last show. I bet you cannot find another country that is predominantly white that has anything nearly as bad as what is happening to the countries of color in this world happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's a profound insight, Beck. I hadn't thought of that, but I'm going to take a look at that. That is a very profound insight. And you know, you would if that supposition that you just put out there is accurate, which I don't see that it's not accurate. I believe it is, but I'm going to research it. If that is accurate, think about what that means, man. I mean, that's a profound insight. It's really global genocide of people of color.
Well, you think about this here. Someone says, you know, there was Chavez. Was there Chavez of Venezuela?
Yes.
He made the statement that something is going on where they're controlling they can control the weather, the HARP. The one I talked about, HARP, I believe. That's an acronym for something that the Air Force and the Navy worked on in conjunction with the University of Alaska.
Oh, wow.
He said that they can control the weather. And not only him, but others have said the same thing. And they can create different earthquakes and different things. And now he even went as far as to say that he believed the Air Force created that earthquake in Haiti.
Oh boy!
But then somebody comes back and said, no, it couldn't have happened because that was an unknown fault there that ran through the Caribbean that caused that earthquake. Unknown fault.
Now, that's right. That's right. If it was an unknown fault, how do you know it was a fault?
That's right. and then the other thing is why? You know, Haiti is on the same island as Dominican Republic.
Right.
How could so much devastation happened on one end of the island and not on the other end.
You mean to say the Dominican Republic didn't have the same kind of problems that Haiti had?
No.
See, I'm not familiar. I remember when Haiti had that problem. That's been several years ago now. I think Clinton was the president, wasn't he?
No, I don't think Clinton. He was after he became president. I mean, after he left office, rather.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And he was he was over a charitable organization. His organization went over there to help out over there, but they said they got not one penny from him.
Oh, wow.
And he raised all kind of money over there. He was over there. He went there.
Uh-huh.
But that's another story too, though, Bob, that we have to do on.
Well, Mac, it seems like we've got lots to talk about, brother.
Yeah, but anyway, I think that with that, I think that with what they are doing, I think it may be something that they are actually creating these type of things here in these certain parts of the countries. I mean, that happen to be predominantly black or all black, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, things are happening, Bob, and let's take a more of a profound look at it and see what we can find out and bring it to the people.
That's right. And hopefully the people will listen, you know. It's like you know, I've heard the old timers say you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So hopefully some of these horses that we're leading to this beautiful stream will be able to stick their tongue in and wet their chops, you know.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. And we'll put on at the end of this video in the description section, we'll have some places where websites that they can go to and they can make a donation, or they can organize their own organization to try to get some relief to the people over in Somalia and those countries there.
Absolutely, because if we are African Americans, I mean, and you know, the reason I say what you said about the Caucasian circumstance, I don't think you would find, if this was happening in Italy or, say, Israel or, say, Japan, you would see these people organizing that are Japanese Americans or Italian Americans or Jewish Americans here in this country. They would be rallying around their people to help that devastation. A famine, man. This was the first time the United Nations has declared those areas as a famine state, and it's the first time that's happened in 60 years. So it's a serious circumstance. But what about the African Americans here in America? What are we doing? You know, we're looking at. Oh, and by the way, I don't know. I think that this Detroit situation with the riots, I think somebody made a movie out of that that's supposed to be coming out next month.
Yes, it is.
You know?
Yeah, that's gonna get a lot of people all riled up, and then it's
right.
And just like and that's that's their whole idea, to do those type of things, Bob.
Right.
To get people, keep them distracted and let them go out there and start another riot, and that way they are sending in this time when they send in the National Guards, they're gonna do more than just indiscriminately shoot.